Have you ever thought about working with company organizations to say, okay, I'm going to be that executive developer for your organization, executive coach for the organization? Is that something that's possible to do, or does it have to be somebody who wants to do it? An individual.
Well, no, I mean, certainly there are companies that have in-house executive coaches. And if I could find one, I might want to do that. But I've seen some companies that will, contract to provide coaching for their employees. And I do work with some companies that do that. And typically it's, they've identified high potential people in their organization that they want to develop more. And, I'll work with them on issues, and it's kind of nice too, because they've got that safe place that they can come and even say things like, I don't feel like my boss trusts me, or, I've got an issue with somebody on my team and I'm just wondering how I can have this tough conversation with them. So it gives them a safe place to come and just open up to somebody who, I don't even know these people that they're talking about, but we can talk about what the options are. Sometimes they can practice how they want to say what they have to say. We can talk about the pros and cons of particular approaches that they're thinking about. And I will say it's very fulfilling to hear when people come back and say, well, I used the approach that we talked about last week and I got the outcome I was hoping for.
Okay. When you're bringing these approaches to the table to say, okay, here's a way to do that, do you find it more effective just to say, okay, here's what to go do, let's practice it? Because like you said, it's got to be a safe place.
Yeah.
Or do you say jump?
Well, I mean, what I usually say is, I'll start by reflecting back to them, what I'm hearing. And it could be that, well, it sounds like you feel a little hesitant about providing this person direct feedback because they've been sensitive. And they can say, yeah, the last time I did this is what happened. And so, we might talk about like, well, what's a different way that you could do that? And if they ask me, if they say, well, have you ever seen a situation like this? I'm happy to share, from my own background, but I really want to help people be, authentic in the way that they're approaching it. I don't want them to use my style of approaching something. I want them to, but I also want them to understand like, well, if you're a super direct person and you're dealing with somebody who's very introverted, it might have the opposite impact. And in fact, actually, I worked with somebody who was a sales manager, and his top salesperson was very introverted. But his approach when he had like the one-on-one meetings was to be really direct. And he said that he felt like she would shy away and she actually wouldn't be very engaged in the conversations.
Yeah.
And so we talked about, well, what's a different way, even though that's not your natural way of interacting, what's a different way that you could interact with her so that she feels like she can open up, and so we kind of came up with some different ways for him to interact. And that was really effective. She started opening up because she didn't sort of feel, his style was just so assertive that it made her shy rather than feeling safe that she could open up.
So it gave her a feeling of a safe workplace so she could open up a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, and I think it's important to like adapt to people's style too, like to notice if you're a leader, what works with some people isn't going to work with other people, and just to adapt so you can get the outcomes that you want.